FanMouth Fantasy Roundtable. I'm Erin here with Dave and Jeff to talk to you about our Week 9 daily fantasy quarterback picks. Dave, who's your quarterback pick this week?
I'm going to go with Drew Brees this week against the Jets. Now, it might be a week too late. Brees had a huge game last week, 5 touchdown passes against the Bills. But I'll say that this week's matchup is even better than last week's matchup. I mean, let's look at last week. Jimmy Graham was injured, played only 18 snaps in the entire game, had a great game, but didn't play that much. Lance Moore was coming back from an injury, and the Saints were ahead that whole game. Brees only threw 34 passes that game. It's season low for Brees. So this week, if the game's a little more competitive, Graham's a little more healthy, Moore's a little more healthy, I think he could have a great game against the Jets, who are not a very good pass defense.
Yeah, I like the pick a lot. The total attempts are a little deceptive, though, because some of his passes were 60-yard bombs for touchdowns, so that kind of kills your drive and you don't have as many pass attempts. Yeah, Drew Brees is a great pick. He's a great pick every week. It doesn't matter what the matchup is. He's going to get you points. I don't know that it's as good of a matchup as it was last week. Buffalo is atrocious against the pass, but I like it a lot. Myself, though, I went with Phillip Rivers going against Washington, and we all know how bad Washington is, right? And this game, what actually sold me on it is that there's no line in Vegas. It's supposed to be a really competitive game. No one's a favorite. So it should be a lot of passes from both teams. Neither team's going to blow the other one out, and it should be a great game to watch and a great game to have Phillip Rivers.
Yeah, I would say, and you mentioned it, the concern for me in this game, and I think Rivers is a good choice, but I wonder... Washington's run defense is really bad, and San Diego seems to lately have gotten into a mode where if Matthews can run the ball, they're going to keep handing him the ball more and more. If I would think it's going to be successful against Washington running the ball, the more he runs the ball, obviously, the less you're going to get out of Rivers. So I think his cap is probably a little lower than someone like Brees, but then again, his price is too. So.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. They pretty much only give the ball to Matthews when they have a lead, so I think it would take a lot to actually impact Rivers' numbers in that regard. But
I guess my concern with Rivers, he's a little bit more expensive than I thought he'd be. I think of Rivers as maybe a value quarterback a lot of weeks, and this week he is right up there with some of the bigger names. And also, Redskins' defense last week actually did a pretty good job against the Broncos for the first 75% of the game. I'll admit the end was ugly, but it was a glimmer of hope, I guess. I wonder if maybe they're not quite as bad as they were early on in the season, or maybe they're a little better than their stats might indicate. But I did agree with you on Drew Brees. He's my quarterback this week as well. The thing I really like is last week he threw the ball to 10 different receivers. A quarterback with that many options on the field, if he sees a bad matchup with one player, he finds someone else. I can't pass that up against the Jets defense that played absolutely atrocious against the Bengals last week. So I think it's an unbeatable matchup, and Drew Brees is once again going to have a big week.
Well, one thing that I would say about Brees this week as well is, I don't know if it's because of the buys or the matchups or what, but I don't see a whole lot of players out there at the very top of the scale who I really like this week. And in order to anchor your team with a couple of them, I just thought that Brees was a better option than, say, the really high-priced running backs or some of the really high-priced receivers. So to me, it made even more sense to go with him.
That's a good point. These Week 8 and 9 buys have half the teams in the league in the NFL on bye week, it seems like. But so there's fewer and fewer elite options to choose from. But with Brees, I'm not buying the matchup as much as you guys are. The Jets have looked very competent throughout the season at times defending the pass. Drew Brees is another story. Like I said, I don't think they're going to shut him down. But I could see them having a much better week than they did last week, which isn't very much of a stretch. But.
Well, the thing about the Jets, in my mind, the Jets are great against the run. And so, I mean, you don't have to tell New Orleans to throw the ball, but the Jets' defense is going to dictate, hey, you can't run on us, so why even try? So I mentioned the 34 attempts earlier. I mean, if he doesn't throw 40 balls in this game, I'm going to be shocked.
I couldn't agree more. That's our quarterback picks for this week.